Let's get to the comments by Addison Nichols. Can you pull those up right now? And I'm going to tell you that there's some extra motivation here. I believe that. But let's pull up the Addison Nichols comments. He, of course, would be Tennessee's second team center right now if he had stayed at Tennessee and something happened to Cooper Mays. I think that's William Satterwhite, and I think Satterwhite would eventually have passed him heading into the 2025 season. But Nichols probably would be the backup right now at center. So what did he have to say about going to Arkansas? Because he tried to be complimentary, then I thought he really took a shot at Tennessee, whether he meant to or not.
Okay, I'm trying to find the video, but I've got at least a quote.
Let's go with the quote.
I'm sorry?
Let's go with the quote.
Okay, so the quote was basically, he said, quote, Coach Heupel is a great guy, a great coach, and has a great program. Couldn't say a bad thing about him. Definitely learned a lot through my time there, but at the end of the day, I just didn't see myself hitting my full potential in the room I was in. Obviously, Coach Pittman is a huge, huge part of that decision to transfer to Arkansas. When Coach Mateos reached out, I had never heard of him. And when I started doing my research, that man has an incredible track record. The two of them combined, I don't think you'll ever find anything like that ever again. It was just one of those things where at the end of the day, I would be stupid not to come here.
Okay, keep going. There's a little bit more.
Let's see. And then he said later, he talked about his recruitment, and he said it's incredibly different from high school when he was being recruited. He said there's definitely more urgency with the short time frame that you have. It's nicer in the way that you don't get the high school fakeness because you know what you want, what you're looking for, and you can see through some of the BS. Which,
so keep going. Keep going down to the comment that talks about needed more.
I already said that. I said that. He said,
okay.
Yeah, he said that. Where did I have that?
Well, needed more is the headline, and it was pulled from him. My question about that is, what more did he need? Tennessee's offensive coaches have proven they can develop offensive linemen. Cooper Mays,
I got. You want the full quote? Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm coming in as a center. Me leaving Tennessee had nothing to do with position. Like I said, nothing bad to say about the program at Tennessee. There's some great people. Coach Heupel does a tremendous job with the program and culture. I learned a lot about football and being a man during my time there. It's just one of those things where looking forward, I needed more. You're right. There it is.
Okay. I needed more is the thing that bothers me.
That's the only thing that bothers you. A lot of that quote bothers me.
Okay. You start first, because I think he tried to be complimentary, but at the end of the day, he was either shown the door or just realized he couldn't play. And who wouldn't be a little bit salty about that?
Yeah, I mean,
for the record, based off what I've been told, he was not shown the door like a lot of the Tennessee defensive backs, like Danico Slaughter, who plays for Arkansas. Addison Nichols needed to improve greatly, but he was not a lost cause in Tennessee's coaches' minds.
Okay, well, he said at one point before the need and more, he said, I just didn't see myself hitting my full potential in the room I was in, which is a direct shot at Tennessee's development of offensive linemen, isn't it? And that's the one that bothers me. And then when he talked about recruiting, when he said, when your difference between transfer and recruiting is you can see through the fakeness and the BS. Is he saying Josh Heupel was fake on the recruiting trail? I mean, he said he doesn't have a negative thing to say about Josh Heupel, and then he threw a lot of shade at Josh Heupel. It's so a lot of it bothers me that he was doing this. But Dave, give me your thoughts, because give me your thoughts now on him on the needed more, because I might say something that may be a little bit controversial.
Well, the needed more.
They're like, that is total bullshit.
I mean, that's ridiculous, because you have Darnell Wright, who developed from a good offensive lineman to a first rounder. Cooper Mays has gone from everybody said he was undersized, not good enough, through this coaching staff and the previous one to some extent. Cooper Mays has been fantastic and turned into one of the best centers in the nation. So I have trouble believing that Tennessee can't develop offensive linemen. If that's what he's hinting around at, then shame on him, because what he said about becoming a man at Tennessee is just not true. He has to accept some of what happened. Listen, who did they run out there when Cooper Mays was hurt at the beginning of last year? Caleb.
It was Ollie Lane, right?
Right. I love Ollie Lane. Ollie Lane's going to be on the program tomorrow. But that was Addison Nichols' job to kind of lose, wasn't it? I mean, he came in and he was supposed to, at least by that point in his Tennessee career, pushing for a starting job or be a starter either at center or guard, right?
Yes, that was his second year. I think everybody thought that. No, actually, was that his third year? Or was it his second? It was one. Yeah, maybe it was his second. But yeah, everybody thought that it was going to be his to lose. By your second year as an offensive lineman, you should be capable as a backup in the rotation, right?
Yes. And that was his second year. But here's the issue. He didn't feel confident enough that he was going to be a starter over Andre Keurig at left guard, obviously right guard, escapes my right guard.
Spraggins.
Yes. So he didn't feel confident that he would be a starter. So there's either one of two things here. Either he lacks confidence or he lacks physical ability. Now, it's one thing for a quarterback to transfer and say things didn't go right for me, I got an issue, because you only play one quarterback at a time. It's another if you're an offensive lineman and you're not ready to contribute by your third year, which this would have been at a high level. That's a major red flag to me. And while Tennessee may have not shown him the door, those comments make me think that they're better off without him. And I say that about a team that's not completely healthy on the offensive line.
Okay, so let me.
Caleb's mad. I can.
No, I'm not mad, but yes. I have to ask this question. And I have to ask this question seriously. Are we sure Addison Nichols isn't a semblance of truth in what he's saying? Because you bring up Darnell Wright, you bring up Cooper Mays, you bring up Ollie Lane coming in afterward, you just brought up Javonte Spraggins. What do all those players have in common?
They were recruited by Jeremy Pruitt. Is that what you're getting to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Addison Nichols was a Josh Heupel signing. We are in year 4 of covering Josh Heupel at Tennessee, and there is still not one offensive lineman that he signed that is starting, that he signed out of high school, that has started on his offensive line and been reliable at all. And at some point, you brought up Darnell Wright. All right, Dave, I got to ask you this question. You covered football a long time. A guy like Darnell Wright playing right tackle. Was there really any development required with him? I mean, that's just a raw, amazing athlete that I think you and I could into an NFL top 10 pick.
Good. Well, I don't know about that far, but he could do a backflip at 315 pounds. That's a pretty freaky athlete. But Cooper Mays is going to have a nice career in the NFL, I believe, and is maybe an All-American this year. He's second team All-SEC because Alabama has a really good center. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but I mean, you've got to say that they developed Cooper because Cooper showed up and Jeremy Pruitt didn't know where to play him. He played tight end, fullback, played everywhere else. He just liked his grit and determination. But most oftentimes, if you don't have a plan for a player, he gets lost in the shuffle. So you have to give Tennessee credit for helping develop Cooper Mays. And I'm talking about this current staff.
Are we sure he wasn't always a good center and Tennessee stumbled into him because with, I guess it was Brandon Kennedy was gone. They didn't have an option in 2021. And they're like, well, he was a center in high school. Let's plug him in. And that he just turned out to be very, very good. I mean, this is what I mean. It's hard. I'm raising some red flags about Glenn Ellery, guys. And I've been doing this for a little while now because I haven't seen him develop anybody through coming out of high school through the program yet. They keep going for transfers. And that you, at some point, guys, this is year 4. Let me ask you this, Dave, 2022. We were covering Tennessee in 2022. If I told you the secondary would be shored up as a unit before the offensive line, what would you have told me then?
I would have told you that I have no doubt, but that would be the case because I thought Tennessee had a gap in their offensive line that would show up in 2024. And you're seeing that when a tackle goes down and is not able to perform, you don't have anybody behind him. As I was told by somebody on within Tennessee's program, that's when things get interesting, talking about 2024, because they don't have any depth. There hasn't. I don't know that it's development, Caleb. I'll take umbrage with that. I don't think it's development. I think development's fine. What I think it is they didn't recruit the elite linemen often enough. And just like you said with Darnell Wright, more times than not, those guys are going to come through. But I don't think that they've got enough of those guys. You can only have so many overachievers, especially in the trenches, right?
True. I'm listening.
So, I mean, I think Cooper Mays is an overachiever, and I mean that as a compliment. I think Andre Currig is just about where he should be. I think Javonte Spraggins is about where he should be. I haven't seen much out of Lance Hurd. Dane Davis, I give a pass to because he's the utility man everywhere. Caleb, I think they've done a good job with John Campbell Jr., especially considering the injuries. So I don't have a problem as much with the development as who Josh Heupel recruited and landed 2 years ago.
Okay, but let me ask you this, and you're right. Let's be fair. Josh Heupel, I'll be fair, then I want to be unfair. Josh Heupel was less specific of who he could recruit at offensive line because Tennessee was so down that he kind of had to throw stuff at the wall and see what would stick. That had to be his recruiting strategy in the trenches. We agree with that, right?
Yes.
Fair enough. He signed during that period. I'm not going to count 2021 because we both agreed nobody in 2021 was the signee of his. But it would make him look worse if I did. But I'm not going to do it. I'll be fair. He signed, there were from 2022 through 2024, 3 recruiting classes up to this point. He signed 15 offensive linemen out of high school. 5 of them were 4-stars. You're telling me none of them? What are the chances none of them could be an overachiever or work their way into the rotation? Because none of them have.
This gets into recruiting, which is a little bit into my wheelhouse. I believe that there are too many 4-star players on the offensive and defensive line that get that designation. So I think there's a difference between being a high 4-star and a lower 4-star, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to split hairs, but the guys you're talking about, did Georgia really want them? Did Alabama really want them when they had the pick of the litter? I don't think they necessarily did, Caleb.
Yeah, but if you sign 15, let's just say they're all 3-stars. Shouldn't the odds of probability be in your favor that maybe 2 of them at least turn into overachievers? You're 0 for 15. This is a bad slump. I mean, I can go back, Dave, and I know it's the former years, and Fulmer for a while was the best line coach in college football. Guys like Scott Wells, who I don't think was highly recruited, turned out to be one of the best linemen in Tennessee football history. I mean, Tennessee had a plethora of guys that would come through the program and do that. And they haven't had anybody under Josh Heupel do that yet. I think it's a red flag that none of them, even if say none of them are 4-stars, say all 15 are 3-stars. If you have a good development program, don't at least 2 of them turn out to be decent? I mean, Wisconsin only signs 3-stars and they lead the NFL in offensive linemen.
Yeah, but look at who they're playing too.
They lead the NFL. These linemen end up going to the NFL and they lead the NFL in offensive linemen. And same with Iowa. Iowa only signs 3-stars, and they turn out more pro offensive linemen than anybody.
Well, I will tell you this, to your point, at Oklahoma not having, by the way, Larry Johnson III, I was reading his Pro Football Focus grades, did pretty well. So I would throw that to counter your argument because he's just a sophomore, and I think he's ready to go. They're always ready to go at work trucks, all about trucks that are actually available, trucks that help you maximize your profits by having the right work vehicle available now. Time is money. The perfect work vehicle doesn't break down, has all the space to carry what you need. That's what Work Trucks is intent on offering, while other dealerships just can't do it. Contracting is about time. Work truck saves you time with less back and forth trips. Trucks that pass the highest standards to be put to work. The process is also quick and easy when choosing a vehicle for work trucks, cargo vans, utility body trucks with an app hide, work bodies installed, pickup trucks of all sizes, anything special like cranes or dump trucks. Look at those trucks. Work Truck supplies vehicles to people just like you. Contractors get you back on the road. No dealership runaround. Contractors, Work Trucks. I'm serious. Service industry, Work Trucks. Tell them Off the Hook Sports sent you. And Dave Hooker said Work Trucks carries the highest quality of trucks. You need Work Trucks. Clinton Highway in Knoxville, downtown Birmingham. For the entire inventory, go to worktrucksllc.com. Work Trucks, they'll find the perfect truck, outfit it, make sure it fits your needs to a T. Work Trucks with an XLLC.com. Proud supporters of the Tennessee Vols. So I guess the question is, getting back to our point, does Tennessee have the right work trucks in place, or are they not outfitting them well enough once they get here? If you had to choose one or the other, that's the biggest concern, and that is recruiting the right big work trucks to go to work or developing them into a proper work truck. Where is Tennessee in that regard? If you had to lay the blame of Tennessee not producing enough elite offensive linemen, which is fair, where does that blame lie? Is it recruiting or is it development? If you had to pick one.
The majority is recruiting. Because again, I think when you recruit certain types of caliber players, I think Josh Heupel's goal was always to get to a point to where he just recruited the offensive linemen, and there was not. Again, I bring up Darnell Wright. Once you're recruiting at a certain level, you don't have to coach him. David Sanders will not have to be coached at Tennessee. I'm just going to say it. You can just plug him in and he's going to be good. But I think that development deserves some blame because there is something to say about development. Now, again, I brought up Wisconsin and Iowa. I'm sure, Dave, you know as well as I do, they have an entire statewide program solely focused on developing players into offensive linemen, right? Where they put their hand in the ground, and it's it's just completely focused on just coaching that up from the time they're 10. And I don't think Tennessee's ever going to have that. But they did have how many linemen, when you covered the program, Dave, Scott Wells was just the first that came to mind. If you really hammered me down, I could think of more. There were a lot of, weren't there, undersized linemen, maybe a little bit slow linemen that came through Philip Fulmer's program that turned into NFL players, weren't there? Because he coached them so well. Yes, there's the Kosi Coleman. There was no coaching required for Kosi Coleman or Aaron Sears. But for a lot of guys, I'd say there was. There was some coaching required for maybe Chad Clifton.
Yeah, a lot of those guys were natural. I think that Scott Wells was probably a little bit more of a natural than you give him credit for because he was really thick. He wasn't tall, but he also, I remember he wrestled extensively, and it postponed his college decision. And for those that don't remember Wells, he started for a decade for the Packers. And I thought that his leverage from the get-go was special. I think him and Cooper are similar in that regard. I think they understand the game and they understand leverage. I don't believe in multi-sporting out the wazoo like some people do. I do believe you should play more than one sport if your son or daughter is of that age. I don't think you should specialize. But if you want your son to be a great football player, then the offseason, he doesn't need to worry about basketball, have him wrestle. Because you learn leverage, and it's a whole different game when you learn leverage. You don't have to be the biggest and strongest. I think that Cooper Mays is proof of that. Although he's very strong, he's not the biggest guy.